Washington County Courthouse. I particularly want to welcome two gentlemen. Tony Wilder, first of all, a good friend of mine. We were judges together for a while, and he's moved on up to the Department of Local Government. But tonight's all about one reason, one purpose that we're here, and that's for Mr. Harmon. We want to welcome you here to Washington County and pledge that we will work hard for you in Washington County. I think we've talked privately, and you know how I feel. Have absolutely nothing against the Harmon that we have, but we're not getting anything back to our counties. I've talked to several of you all in Boyle County, and we're not getting our fair share. We don't want more than our fair share. We just want our fair share, and we're just not seeing any action that's coming back to Central Kentucky. So I think we have a man that we can all get behind. I think it's going to be an easy sell for me to go into various communities and say, this is our man. This is somebody that's going to work for you. I've already talked with him enough to realize he's kind of like me, just an old country boy, old common guy that can go to Frankfurt and get something done. So thank you all for being here, and I think, Tony, you want to say a few words?
I'd be glad to, Judge.
Thank you all.
Good job.
Thank you for having us. Now, tonight's the start of the general election, and we have a nice little crowd here tonight. There's a whole lot of time to go. A lot of the onus is going to be on him. But I'm going to tell you, Judge Sellers is right. We do not have anybody that has any kind of broad-based effectiveness. He may be a couple, three issues he cares about, but when I'm going to tell you, has he ever been to a fiscal court meeting?
Once when I invited him.
Once when you invited him. He never came to a fiscal court we were at. He's a nice kid. I like Mike. I talk to him all the time and see him. Nice fella. Just got to have a nice fella, and you got to have an effective representative. Now I'm telling you, folks, this time we went through this, and we can't seem to cross that threshold. This time we got to do it. You've had enough time. We've all got to be disciples, and you're going to have to get out here and talk. And Barry, you're going to have to work your tail off. You cannot beat an incumbent without working.
Right.
And he's entrenched, and you're going to have to show who you are. But folks, look back at the record. That's all you've got to do. And when you talk about Mike Harmon, what they tell you, oh, he's a nice guy, I like him. That's what we're up against. There's no substance, and there's no real legislative record. Look at it. I beg you to look at it. I'm going to tell you about Barry. I've known him a long time. And I was just talking, was Billy, who was the dairyman?
Billy Wright.
Billy Wright. I'm going to tell you, being a jailer is kind of like running a dairy or running a restaurant. It's 7 days a week. And you learn about real work, and you learn about real people. I'm going to tell you something. Here's one thing good. Y'all listen to this. He's been jailer now, what, 3 terms? You learn a lot about people. You learn about what's wrong in society. You learn about crime and punishment. I'm going to tell you something. I'd like to send somebody to the General Assembly that knows about crime and punishment that's not a lawyer. What about that? When you like that, clap about that. I've got awful good friends who are lawyers. And I'm going to tell you something. Listen, I'm up there all the time. I've experienced about 4 sessions now. I'm going to tell you something. We need common sense people who've lived that side of it. And I'm going to tell you something. He knows about the scourge of drug problems. You see it firsthand. It's not insulated like most of us are from it. He sees it firsthand. He sees the wrecking of the wrecking of people's lives. He sees the damage caused by that inflicted upon the victims. It's terrible. And I'm going to tell you something. Right now, because of that one issue, drug abuse, we need strong leadership in Frankfurt, and we need people who know about it, not just reading about it, somebody that knows about it. So I'm passionate about it. And I'll tell you something else. And I, of course, me and Johnny here, we know about county government. Some of us here know about county government. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Your county government's where the rubber hits the road. It's where you see your county judge and your magistrates every day at the grocery or in the restaurant. That's real government to me. He's at every fiscal court meeting since he's been jailed. He knows what county government does, and he knows what it takes to do the services, and he knows the limitations. That's important. It's important to send somebody from Frankfurt, because let me tell you something. Everything from Frankfurt trickles down to us, doesn't it? You got to have somebody that knows about it. And I'm going to say something else. And I've always said this. I always thought Mike Harmon is a spiritual man. He's a good man. I'm going to tell you something. We got somebody running who's a pastor. And I don't mind mentioning that. He knows how to deal with people. And I'm going to tell you something. Being a pastor, because of all the other spiritual issues and burdens you got, it's kind of like being a football coach. I mean, you're judged every day. Every day you got to perform for your people. You got to perform for the county of Boyle as jailer. You're going to be performing for Boyle and Washington counties. Now, Barry, and folks, listen. This is the time. We cannot let this opportunity slip by. He's been there long enough. He's got enough negatives about him. Good fella. But his legislative record will not stand up. A handshake and a pat on the back and a smile and displaying and projecting how good you are is not enough. With our economy we're dealing with and what we've been through the last few years, you've got to have somebody that's got leadership and can cut through all that and know what government's about. So I'm going to tell you, we're partners. We will be partners. Boyle and Washington County. We almost had Mercer. Boyle and Washington County. And we're going to stay Boyle and Washington County because I think that's what's going to happen. We've got to get started tonight. And you know what it takes? All it takes is talking to kin folks. All it takes is talking to the beauty shop or the barber shop or the restaurant. It grows. And say those things I've mentioned because you've got real substance here. He's not a stockbroker out here, insulated from everything we know that's important to us. He's been there. Commit yourself to it. Commit yourself to it tonight. This group will grow into hundreds. We'll get the job done, and we'll elect him, our representative from Boyle and Mercer County, and we'll have somebody who truly understands and will represent us. Barry?